y'all doing? Hey. All right, so we just heard, my name is Beachy, I volunteer with Sanctuary DMP, and we just heard again how during the week of July 8th, in just that 1 week, ICE raided at least 5 neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., and tore at least 12 people from their families in our community. And you just heard that we've talked with witnesses who saw this, and they report that ICE indiscriminately detained people on the street, that ICE used racial profiling, that ICE lied to people to get them to open their doors, and that with all of this, ICE collaborated with DC police. I've been in touch with a number of the family members who had their loved ones taken away from them by ICE in these raids. None of them wanted to talk publicly today, because there's a lot of fear in our communities right now. And that's what happens when ICE is free to come into our communities and terrorize them.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Though none of these family members want to talk publicly, they all do have something to say. They have shared with us messages for Mayor Bowser today and said that we should pass them along. So that's what I'm going to do. One person I spoke with had 2 family members who were taken from them by ICE last month here in DC. They described to me how 2 people identifying themselves as police officers came and knocked on the door of a man who we'll call Manuel, a man who's been in DC for years. These officers said that they were looking for a specific person. Manuel didn't know who this person was and told them so. So then the officers started chatting up the man. They asked him, hey, what are your favorite restaurants here in DC? They asked him, what is your favorite beer? Making small talk. So when they asked to come in, Manuel let them. And that's when they asked Manuel for his papers. He didn't have them, and so they handcuffed Manuel and then took him to a van where ICE agents were waiting. Right now, as we speak, Manuel is sitting in a cell in Virginia fighting not to be deported. Most of his family live here in the DC area. And if deported, he'd be torn away from them and sent back to a country where violence recently killed his last remaining family members in Mexico. No! A country where he has no family left. So I asked Manuel's family members here in DC what message they might have for our mayor. Here's what they said. The mayor's office is supposed to help DC residents, but there has been no help for us. We came here to make ends meet. The situation in some of our countries is pretty bad right now. We're here in DC to work and to support our kids. Why do they keep detaining us? Why is DC letting them detain us? Manuel is not the only neighbor of ours detained last month who could face violence when he goes home, if he's deported. A few of the family members I talked to told how their loved ones actually face explicit death threats in their home countries. One woman put it very bluntly to me. She said, if my husband is deported, they will kill him. That is what is at stake. And it's not over either. This is not the first or the last time that ICE has come into our communities. One person I was just talking to last night told me how she had family members of hers taken from her last month, yes. But just this weekend, ICE came back to her neighborhood. Just this weekend, she saw unmarked vans parked outdoors. Just this weekend, officers were coming up and stopping every man that they saw on the street who looked like he had brown skin and asking them for their papers. She said this, we are supposedly a sanctuary city, but right now we have a lot of fear. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who will be taken next. The message from her and from all these family members is pretty clear. DC does not yet deserve to have the title of sanctuary city. Not when ICE can whisk away their family and our neighbors, colleagues, and friends. Not when the DC jail has a standing practice of giving ICE a heads up before releasing people so that ICE can come detain them. Not when ICE is reportedly collaborating with our own DC police, and not when our mayor responds to all of this with silence. Mayor Bowser, though, she still has time to act. Right now, as I mentioned, DC residents are sitting in cells in Virginia wondering if they will be torn from their families in our community. We call on Mayor Bowser to stand up to ICE and demand that they be released. We call on Mayor Bowser to sever all ties between DC officials and ICE. We call on Mayor Bowser to make DC the sanctuary city it aspires to be for all of its residents. We're asking that she intervene immediately, take action immediately, as should have been done weeks ago, with ICE officials to seek the release of all detained DC residents. Stand up for DC and stand up to ICE. Number two, we ask for a public meeting with all of us, with the people who aren't here, all stakeholders in DC, to address the action that must be taken to make DC a true sanctuary city and not a sanctuary city in name. Those are the things we're going to ask Muriel Bowser. So please write that number down and make sure that we call it today, tomorrow, and the next day. Silence is not an option in the face of attacks on our communities. We want sanctuary, not silence.